Alright, so I'm going to show you guys our entire solar setup on our 41-foot fifth wheel. So we've got a EcoFlow DELTA Pro, which is a 3,600 watt inverter and 3,600 kilowatt hours of battery capacity, and we've got 2,000 watts of solar on the roof. I did it all myself to show that you guys can too, and it's not nearly as complicated as a Victron system. We actually used to have a Victron system in our Class A, which we lived in, boondocked in almost exclusively for 2 years. And while I admit the Victron system was definitely better and more integrated, which I will go over the one major flaw that we have with this system, and it's really not EcoFlow's fault, it's more the way the camper is set up and probably my own lack of knowledge, and maybe someone will tell me how to fix it in this video. But I'll go over all our specs, what we can run, what we have run, any issues that we've run into, and I'll just give you guys an overall tour of what we've got going on. But so far we've been in New Mexico and now Colorado for about a month in total, and we've had zero issues. We've run the AC plenty of times. We've run both ACs sometimes, microwave, coffee maker, and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll give you guys a tour of our setup. All right, so before I show you guys our system, I forgot to mention that EcoFlow does have a pretty good app. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. You can see what you're pulling in via solar or AC. You can adjust how fast you want to charge it with the AC cable, anywhere from 200 to 1800 watts. I usually charge mine at 1500 watts just to not burn out the outlet on our RV. You can see the temperature, state of charge, how long it's going to take to charge or discharge the battery. It's pretty useful, and it's basic, which I like. The Victron system was like a little complicated, where this just tells you exactly what you need to know. And then I'm going to show you guys running 2 air conditioning units, Starlink, and our very non-efficient fridge, all on the EcoFlow system. You can't run all that for a very long sustained period, but I did run it and it worked. So I'll show you guys that, and I'll show you the app and how everything looks. So yeah, let's get into it. Here we've got our EcoFlow DELTA Pro, and we've got in our front storage bay where our generator is. And this is where a lot of people with fifth wheels put their normal Victron or solar setup systems anyway. And we've got a regular battery on the other side of the EcoFlow as our house battery for 12-volt appliances and stuff like that. And again, as I've said, we only have this EcoFlow DELTA Pro. We do not have the extra battery, but I'm 90% sure we're probably going to end up getting it in the future for fall, winter, stuff like that, when the sun is not up as long. So as you can see, we've got our 30 to 50 amp adapter. One of the big reasons I chose the EcoFlow DELTA Pro was the 30 amp plug, which is what that is plugging into. That was one of the main reasons. And the other reason is that I could charge this with up to 1600 watts of solar. And as I think I said earlier, we actually have 2000 watts of solar, but you never get 100% capacity out of your solar panels. And we've hit the 1.6 kilowatt charging capacity a couple times. So we maxed this thing out. And again, we've had zero issues with it at all. The only complaint, I guess I could say, which actually doesn't bother me, is the noise of the fans. I'll see if you guys can hear it. So right now it's probably only pulling about 300 watts because it's doing our Starlink and it's charging my laptop, and the fans are pretty much always running, I feel like. But we can't hear it inside because obviously this is below the floor, and it's all the way at the bottom of the fifth wheel, and our platform is raised. But maybe if you had a travel trailer or a truck camper or a van or something like that, you'd probably be able to hear the fans. But again, for our particular situation, it really doesn't matter. But yeah, so I've got our solar cables are coming in up through there, and it plugs into the back of the EcoFlow DELTA Pro. So I know earlier in the video I said there was one issue with the EcoFlow DELTA Pro, but I'd say it's probably 2. So the first being that we actually have to physically have a cord plugged into the EcoFlow DELTA Pro, and then obviously plugged into the RV to power the unit. Where with the Victron system or any integrated system, you don't need to have any sort of plug because it's physically built into the factory wiring of the RV. So that's one big plus. It's not really a big deal for boondocking, but I'd say on travel days, or if you're in like a van or something like that, where you're moving around a lot, it's definitely beneficial to have something that's integrated into the system, because when we pull over at night, I have to physically pull the cord out, plug it in to the RV, and then plug it into the EcoFlow DELTA Pro. Again, not a huge issue, but something to consider. And then the other part of that, not the other issue, is when we want to charge the EcoFlow DELTA Pro with the generator, I have to then plug in the EcoFlow DELTA Pro power cord into the actual outlet in the RV, because with the integrated system, when you turn on the generator, it starts charging your batteries, where if I turn on the generator, the EcoFlow won't charge unless I actually plug the power cord in, which I'll show you guys. So as you can see, this yellow cord over here, this is the AC power cord for the EcoFlow DELTA Pro, how you actually charge it. And then all I would have to do is turn the generator on and then just plug that cord into here. All right, so the original problem that I mentioned at the beginning of this video is what I'm gonna tell you now. So the biggest issue that I personally have, and it's nothing to do with EcoFlow, it's the RV and my lack of knowledge on how to fix the issue, is that when I start the generator obviously takes over power for the entire RV, which is great, that's what I want it to do, and it charges the EcoFlow DELTA Pro. The problem is, when I turn it off, we lose power to the RV, and I have to physically turn on the AC button on the EcoFlow DELTA Pro to get power back to the RV. I know there's different transfer switches and stuff like that and UPS systems. I don't fully understand how to fix the problem for our RV, but that's the only issue. So when we're working midday and we're low on power, we can't just kill the generator because we're going to lose power, lose internet, lose everything. So we have to specifically run our generator either in the morning before work or at night after work. So again, I don't think this is going to be an issue for probably 90 or 80% of people. But if you're full-time working on the road and you need to start your generator that's integrated into your system like this RV, and you shut it off, you're going to lose power for, could be a second or 2 seconds, because it does not automatically, the EcoFlow does not automatically take the power after the generator is turned off, which I did not realize was going to be an issue when I bought the EcoFlow DELTA Pro. Again, it's not the end of the world. We have our workaround. Like I said, start the generator in the morning or start it after work, or if we know we're going to finish up work and it's getting low, we can just run the generator for an hour or two and we'll be fine. And in total, with the solar panels, the EcoFlow DELTA Pro, all the wiring, the mounts for the solar panels and like stuff like that, probably right in around $6,000. All right, so I'm on the back of the fifth wheel, and I've got the majority of my panels on the rear to the middle. I've got 8 panels here and 2 panels on the front, because we've got 2 air conditioning units up there, and I didn't want to cast shade on the solar panels. So I've got 2 all the way up there, and then the rest are on the back. As you can see, I got them almost as far back as I can because there's really nothing on the back to cast shade on the panels. So we've got 10 200-watt panels, which gives us 2,000 watts of solar, and the EcoFlow DELTA Pro can accept 1,600 watts of solar input, and we overbuilt the system so that way on a sunny day we're producing the full 1,600 watts. Because if I only had 1,600 watts of solar panels, we'd probably produce anywhere from 1,100 to 1,300 watts of solar. And again, I wanted to produce the max amount of solar possible, because solar panels are cheap, batteries are not. So I prefer to max out the solar capabilities. So the way I did this is I have got 5 panels in series on the back and then 5 panels in series on the front, then paralleled to go down to EcoFlow, because the EcoFlow has a maximum voltage. I forget what it is. I think it's like 150, and this would have been over that. So what I've got is I've got these 2 panels, that panel, this panel, and this panel all wired together. And then I've got those 2 panels, that panel, and those very 2 front panels. Those 5 are then wired together in series as well. Then I've got both series then connected, which I'll show you, that run down into the EcoFlow. All right, so I'm on the front of the RV. These are the front 2 panels. And right here, I've got our, I'll call it like a Y or branch connector, which is taking the 5 front panels and then converting it to 1. And then for these back panels, those back 5 panels are then running into this and converting to 1. So I've got this cable and that very front cable, this red one, coming right up here. And as you can see, I got them taped and then going down into the RV. All right, so now that I showed you guys our entire solar setup and how I have got the EcoFlow itself configured in the front of the RV, I'm going to show you what we can power and how long we can generally last. So to start that out, we've got our Starlink right up here on the roof, which I think pulls anywhere from about 70 to 150 watts, I believe. We haven't really used the Starlink all that often. This is our first time where we're completely relying on it, because our T-Mobile home internet isn't working out here. There's no T-Mobile. We've got the Starlink set up here and plugged in, and no issues. But I'm going to show you guys the app and everything in this RV that we can run on it. So here's the EcoFlow Delta app, and as you can see, we're pretty much breaking even on what we're bringing in versus what we're pulling out. And right now it's really overcast and cloudy, and it's actually raining here, so that's why we're only producing like 200 watts of solar. But normally when it's sunny, we're anywhere from 1,000 to 1,600 watts of solar input. And what's nice is it tells you the estimated time remaining on your battery. And then up there, I don't know if you guys can see it, it tells you the temperature of the battery or of the unit, which is 82 degrees. So I'm going to plug my laptop in, and right now we're outputting 220 watts, and it's probably going to end up being somewhere around 300 by the time it adjusts to what my laptop's charging at. So as you can see, now we're actually losing power, and it adjusted to about 22, 23 hours. And then I'll unplug it, and it'll go back down to what it was. So right now we've got lights on and Starlink and stuff like that. But just for shits, I'm going to throw on the AC. I'll put it on low. So you can hear the AC is running. And we're pulling 1.3 kilowatts. It's probably going to stay about there. So again, it's cloudy, so it's not really pulling that much. If it was sunny and hot out, the output would probably be like 1.7, 1.8 kilowatts, which is what it normally is. So now I'm going to go into the kitchen, and I'll put on this AC unit just to show you that it should be able to run both. Again, I always run low. I run both on low just in case to not trip it. So we're pulling 2,400 watts. So again, if this was a sunny day, this would be right around 3,000 to 3,200 probably, with having nothing else plugged in. And again, we're only going to last about an hour. All right, so just to show you guys the test, I'm going to put this on electric on the fridge to see what we can get this thing to pull. So there we go. We got 3.2 kilowatts, and it's sustaining about 3.2. And it'll run this for probably half an hour. I'd imagine the battery would eventually get really hot. So right now it's reading 82 degrees, but when we've run both ACs before, this unit's been at like 75, 78 degrees, and it'll get up to about 100 degrees Fahrenheit pretty quickly because of how hard the inverter and everything is working. But just to show you guys, 3.2 kilowatt hours or kilowatts being pulled, and that's running both ACs, Starlink, this fridge, which is not efficient at all, and then also the lights and everything in the RV. I think on EcoFlow's website, it even tells you how long you can sustain, like 3,600 watts, 3,300 watts, or 3,000. So again, you just got to be smart with what you do. I have run one AC in here for like 7 hours continuous yesterday when we were in southern Colorado, and it was like 85 degrees out. It was pulling like 1,800 watts or 1,700 watts with like my laptop and stuff. But I ran it for like 6 or 7 hours straight, no issues, and we were pulling in like anywhere from like 1,400 to 1,600 watts of solar. So we weren't breaking even, but we were just losing a little bit of power over that time. But anyway, I am extremely happy with this system, and the only upgrade, like I said, I think I need to do is that extra battery eventually.